This is Jonathan Ferguson, the Keeper of Firearms and Artillery at the Royal Armouries Museum in the UK, which houses a collection of thousands of iconic weapons from throughout history. And I'm your host, Dave Jewett, and in this special Halloween episode of Firearms Expert Reacts, we're checking out a variety of weapons from a selection of survival horror games. Ew, what is that, man? I really don't like it.
Oh god, you see, that doesn't help. Ugh, yeah, gross.
It's no secret that I am an absolute coward when it comes to anything horror, but thankfully the braver EXP co-founders Adam and Chris have been able to provide this gameplay. It has been a little while since I've heard from them though. Once again, we massively appreciate you and all of your support, but now I'll throw it over to Jonathan. As you know, I am not the bravest gamer in the world, so this footage was provided by my esteemed business partners, Adam and Chris.
Thanks for taking one for the team.
They love it.
Guys. So I hastily have assembled a samurai edge we have at home. However, although this time I've got some wooden grips, these are the Beretta wooden grips, by the way, official ones, I have failed to not so much look for, but find, because I don't think we have a Brigadier slide of the right finish, a Brigadier slide to put on this thing. Because that sort of slightly swollen looking 92 slide that's on the one you're seeing there is the so-called Brigadier variant slide, beefed up slide, basically. This isn't too bad apart from that. So 92F or FS, I put the stainless barrel in it and swapped the slide to a frame that had wooden grips, just because I thought we've got to have it looking the part a bit more than it currently does. Yeah, I think within the limitations of the nature of game this is, I think the guns are really quite detailed. Everything moves that should move, pretty much. The reloads are quite well done. Maybe the recoil's a little dramatic for 9mm. It's almost like Dirty Harry, kind of mime the recoil going on there. I'm pretty sure before I attempted to play the first Resident Evil game on PC, I definitely did. I had already seen the Samurai Edge in a Tokyo Mirror catalogue and thought, that's a really cool looking Beretta 92. I've always loved the 92, still do. I like the classic design without rails and weird trigger guards and stuff. 92, well, I like the SB, I like the S for that matter. Anything after that loses me a little bit, but I love that classic design, and I really like what they did with it. Of all of the kind of, I guess, video game or anime sort of Japanese takes on this Western Italian pistol design, iconic for all the action movies, US military service weapon, of course, it's quite subtle, really. You know, version of wood grips, a slide that's in the Beretta catalogue as well. There's nothing on there that you couldn't replicate in real life. And it's practical as well. You know, 15 round 9mm pistol, when this game originally came out, still very, very viable, plausible as a service weapon of this famous fictional unit. Now, from a game I have played, or at least the original version, not the remake, one that I definitely haven't, but was certainly intrigued by, but it's
far too much for me.
Yeah. I have to really steel myself for this kind of thing, and the setting of this, I think, is just a bit too much.
Yeah, it's interesting they took the Amnesia formula and then set it in, I think they're like abandoned World War I trenches, and it's got an element of receiver to it, because you have to, it's one button to sort of open the cylinder, another button to add a round into the cylinder, one at a time. So not only is it really slow and cumbersome to use the pistol, it dials up the horror that you're having to fumble around with multiple controls. It's not just hitting square to reload while this monster's coming at you, or while freaky stuff is happening in these trenches.
Yeah, I can't promise to get round to this one, I'm afraid.
Ew, what is that, man?
Yeah, no.
3 rounds is enough to scare it off, apparently.
I think the First World War is just terrifying in principle, isn't it? And then you you go for like underground trench system, and then gribbly monsters as well. No thanks. Anyway, the firearm, which is what we're here to talk about, is the French Ordnance Revolver, model 1892. Not going to attempt that in French. And the first thing I notice is that it's backwards. So we have left-handed gun syndrome, LHGS. And if you look at this on the side that we're looking at here, there is no cylinder latch. There is no yoke to swing out the cylinder. It's on the other side. So I think the reload they've got is fine. It's just backwards. This really is in lovely condition. Some of ours are not in such lovely condition. The one in the game is somewhere in between. They've got some wear on there. Otherwise, I'd say they've got it pretty good. Maybe this hump here isn't quite the right shape, but broadly speaking, it's there. Dead Space. Very, very much up my alley, as it were. Absolutely love the film Event Horizon.
Knowing your love for sci-fi and some horror, I think out of all the games on the list today, Dead Space would probably be the one that you enjoy most.
Oh God, you see, that doesn't help. That's very unpleasant. The gun, on the other hand. So, here to talk about the guns. Very unusual. Don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, technically, in universe, it's a tool for cutting pieces of metal and machinery. I don't know if you're aware of the thing in Dead Space, the necromorphs. You have to shoot the limbs off, as the gory instructions on the wall kindly stated. So you'd shoot the arms and legs off, then you'd run up to it and stamp on them. That's the way to take out a necromorph. I don't know the in-law reason for why that's the effective way of taking them down, but that's how you do it. So that's why it has it flips from a horizontal to a vertical firing pattern as well.
What is, sorry? Why it flips from... What, so you can shoot limbs off?
Well, in universe, it's a function of the tool, but gameplay-wise, it's something you use so you can make sure you're hitting the limbs. So 3 shots in a line, either vertically or horizontally.
It's very unpleasant, isn't it? Yeah, so I can't speak to its fictional tool basis, and I can't really speak to its use as a weapon, but we've got, like, blowtorch. If you walk up and... Oh, are they aiming lasers? The blue things?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. First I thought they were blowtorch flamey thingies. Very, very articulate today. What's it shooting? Any ideas?
Plasma.
Okay, so it's like a plasma cutting torch thing, or hard to kind of get my head around what it's supposed to do other than kill monsters, I guess, is where my brain is currently struggling toward. Or for that matter, why you would need an ammo counter if it's a tool.
The only thing that even scratched my real-world brain is like a duckbill pistol.
Yeah, we have got... Well, actually, we have 2 of those. One of them is a butchered wheel lock from the 1600s that someone in the 1700s decided to turn into a duckbill pistol. And then we have one from that era that people love to talk about, clearing decks. But I like to think of them more as missing everyone on the deck. What am I looking at? Well, I can see what I'm looking at. It's a Remington 870 that appears to be cut down, sort of 870 adjacent at least.
This is the Silent Hill 2 remake, so that's why you'll see a lot of fog.
But yeah, the shotgun. How many times have we seen a pseudo Remington 870 in video games?
A pump action shotgun is so quintessential for a horror game. Like close-up power, the slow, purposeful nature of it continues to dial up tension. That's why revolvers are so common in survival horror games, and the ability to top one off when things get desperate as well.
I'd say well, at this range, the pattern is still a bit too wide, but it's not your Doom 2 super shotgun, or it's not super spread.
There's a very odd listing effect every time you shoot the shotgun, obviously meant to imply like recoil or motion, but I'm getting a bit motion sick. Yeah,
well, so this thing is obviously cut down, or it's a very short-barreled one that's had the buttstock cut off as well. We're shooting like fairly significantly powerful ammunition in this thing. The recoil is significant, no doubt about that. Now, the stereotypical aiming progressively further in at the sky is maybe a bit of an artificial way to do it, but it's the industry standard. Now, what it should be doing, let me pay extra attention. Yeah, so it really ought to be levering a bit more, I think, because your wrist is there. There's no support. There's no third point of contact there to support it. So it should probably be pivoting in the hands a bit more than it is. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more the muzzle rise doesn't feel that significant. It feels much more to the rear. Like, it really makes your wrist ache if it's... What I guess I can say for sure is that the amount of... Let's say that recoil is... Because it depends very much on how you handle it. If you've got strong arms, strong wrists, whatever, the recoil will appear to be more to the rear. In which case, why is it then ratcheting up toward the sky as well? You know, where's the recoil moment, as it were, that's causing the muzzle to actually rise? Doesn't feel too naturalistic, I guess, is what I am rambling my ill-defined way towards trying to say. The overall impression is absolutely fine, though. Having said all of that, and the thing about slow to reload, the topping off, at least you can top it off, and it's powerful, and it's not doing great against these guys, but broadly speaking, I probably do want a shotgun like this in a survival horror game in preference to some of the other weapons that they might try to give me. It's got to be in there for kind of lore reasons or tradition reasons. I'm certainly not scrutinizing anything while I'm playing a game like this, and it absolutely passes muster as an 870 unless you look at it in detail. There are a few design differences around the receiver in particular that don't quite look right. But we won't bother doing a side-by-side on it.
So this is Cronos: The New Dawn. It's a survival horror set in a post-apocalyptic version of Poland. You play as the traveller who is venturing through the wastelands to find fixed points where they can travel back pre-apocalypse to the 1980s to locate people who didn't survive the apocalypse. Their weapon's called the Sword MK1615, which gets upgraded throughout the game. But as you discover new weapons, it appears that the weapons are modifications to your primary weapon, and you flick between the weapons and they seem to sort of morph and change out of the same fixed grip.
Well, first of all, I'm intrigued by the game. I thought I knew about all time travel games. I'm guessing that's not really a mechanic in the game so much as just a setting and a plot thing, but still interested to hear about that. And the idea of, like, depending how far in the future we are, some sort of nanotech morphing multi-purpose weapon, why not? On a long enough timeline, sure, let's have that. And if we have time travel technology, why shouldn't we have something of that nature? And in a way, it makes your game a bit more plausible than the black hole on your bum that you're pulling miniguns and Uzis and whatever else out of. One thing that is able to reconfigure its mass. I mean, it's just as silly, but it's an interesting way to deal with the needs of a whatever type of game you're creating. Does make it rather difficult to compare to anything, which we like to do. I don't know if you've picked up on any elements or cues that seem to be based on anything, or if they've just gone... I guess the pistol configuration looks a little bit lawgivery.
Yeah, there's a hint of an extraction port there, but it seems very much like its own diesel punk-esque design.
I think what's coming to mind is the non-lethal pistol from RoboCop the remake, and that's only because I happened to see it online recently. I went, oh yeah, they went non-lethal for the Auto 9 equivalent in that movie. How odd. They had lethal weapons as well, but it was in a very bulky, more sci-fi-esque shape than the original pistol. I suppose if you're trying to pack firepower or whatever features into something like with the footprint of a pistol, it's inevitably going to end up as a big black L shape. So there is that. I guess I'd see this as a descendant of the Blade Runner blaster idea of some science fiction thing. We don't really know how it works, but it shoots bullets. You know, it's a blaster. It's not shooting energy per se, although that kind of looked like an energy blast. I like the disruption of the space as almost like, instead of a muzzle flash, there's like a ripple of space-time kind of look. Quite a conventional reload in a way for something that can change shape. It's almost like a glorified single shot. Well, I guess it's a little bit Mark 23 with the laser module on it. That has the big brightly coloured, or bright metal ejection port on top, and the sort of edgy look. I don't know. I think they've done their own thing with it. Any influence is probably subconscious on their part.
There's another sci-fi gun that top loads the way this pistol does. I'm struggling to remember what it is. I mean, there's probably a bunch of them, but another element that draws this away from any sort of real world parallel that we have.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of the way it opens up and accepts a huge round is reminding more of an upside down underbarrel, or not necessarily underbarrel, but a grenade launcher. You know, like a M203.
So you see, as he finds the relic to turn into the hammer, the rear of it is the same as the pistol, and he's just latched the front end on.
Yeah, I mean, one parallel there would be Star Wars, Andor's AR-15 based pistol thing that turns into a carbine. By no means the only one, but that's what comes to mind. Okay, I'm sold. Any game you can pet cats in. Time travel and cats and guns.
I think they can put that quote on the back of the box now.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a fun weekend for me. I've cheapened that somehow. Actually, I've just landed on a really good still of the pistol version of... Is it called the Sword? We have got some long kind of cooling looking vents on the front of that, which are not a million miles away. They pinged my brain. Again, Robocop. So the original Auto 9 has those long, thin, cooling style vents on the bottom of the muzzle extension on that 93R. This has them up on the top of the weapon, and it's probably coincidence, but yeah, I don't know.
I wondered if there was any inspiration from the Soviet TOS-81 Mars. The TOS-81's space pistol.
I have been racking my brain for a Soviet weapon that reminded me of this, and that was it. Thank you.
Because that's got quite a distinct L shape, and the barrel breaks in a similar way to accept new rounds.
Yep, and is this made by a Polish developer, or just happens to be set there? Getting eastern toward Soviet Union way. Maybe that is a conscious inspiration. Yeah,
it's made by Bloober Team, and they're Polish developer based in Krakow. So maybe the TOS is the thing we've been looking for.
No, obviously it's not that part of the world, but it is right next to it. So yeah, I guess if we had to guess on a single inspiration, I'd say that's the one. Whether they would agree with us, I don't know.
Where'd it go?
So a bit of context about this. The enemies are people that have been taken over by something called the Darkness, not the British band.
Or the other horror game, The Darkness.
With the extra arms? No, not that one. A manifestation of an alternate dimension called the Dark Place.
Is that anything to do with Garth Marenghi?
I wouldn't say I'm idlers. Let's just say I'm window shopping. And right now, there's a half-price sale on Weird.
I'm going to assume not. And that will be why the combat involves shining a light on an enemy. Illuminating an enemy makes them vulnerable, so there's a lot of using your torch and a lot of using flare guns.
That's a very nicely modelled. I guess it's a Remington 700. Yeah, they've gone with Huntington in a Remington font. Yeah, no, it's really good. There's something about it. Yeah, with the engine turning on the bolt there, and that's the lighting, texturing. For some reason, this is standing out for me, or to me, I should say. Look at the detail on that bolt knob. Nice action.
It is like very, very well done, especially considering this is a third-person shooter. With outside the photo mode, you'd never see those details like inside the chamber and seeing the round. You wouldn't get that otherwise.
No, that's a superb job, I think. That's great. Yeah, look at the shape of the front sight there. The grooving on the trigger. The way the checkering is done on the bolt knob, in all seriousness, is very impressive. You can see the logs on the bolt there. We can see the firing pin in the firing pin hole or channel. Funny that they can mention 308 Winchester, but they can't mention Remington. Yeah, so this is the bolt-action rifle is another go-to of the horror genre, isn't it? Because it's, I guess, readily available and doesn't require advanced anticipation or preparation of some sort of serious threat. It's a hunting arm, typically. B, slow to operate. C, low capacity. But D, quite powerful. So the bolt-action rifle and the pump-action shotgun and the revolver are like the ultimate trilogy of horror weapons.
And punishing if you miss a shot. That's another important element. Yeah, if you've got one of these horrors coming at you and you miss that shot and you've got to cycle a bolt to get a new one, it really, again, stirs up that tension. Survival horror has some of the most fascinating implementation of firearms in that way, because they use them as a tool to enhance the horror. If you had an AR-15 or an AK or something semi-automatic or fully automatic, that doesn't fit as well within the horror genre, I feel. And I'm not saying I'm an expert, because I'm frankly too afraid to play 95% of them. But that's the vibe. That's the vibe I get.
I really like the way she's operating the bolt. Normally I would perhaps say, well, that's not an optimum way to operate a bolt action. Quite kind of up, back, forward, down, really quite clunky and not very skilled looking. But why should she be skilled? Especially while scared out of the mind. So, we're not expecting. And this type of bolt action rifle isn't strictly designed for super fast operation anyway. The idea is you're a way away from the thing you're shooting, so it's more about positive, safe, in theory, action. And just that reload animation heightens the panic. So she looks kind of purposeful, but like she's being very deliberate so as not to get it wrong, not to short stroke it or get hung up in some way. Kind of how you might use something like this if you didn't have a ton of experience and you were faced with this kind of horror. But yeah, really nice job there. It's fairly rare that we see something that just instantly goes, that looks great. And I'm not even obsessing too much about, I'm not even going to go and get a 700 to go, actually, I think you'll find you've got that wrong. Because the so much detail, looks great overall. The lighting of the engine just works brilliantly on it. At no point do the textures look like they're not blued steel with a bit of wear and actual walnut with some cuts and dings and scrapes in it. So yeah, big fan of that. So, this would appear to be based on, it's got some fake markings. Spark, Peru, Indiana, I guess that's meant to say. Well, this is Olin, as in the Olin/Winchester Corporation. And in the little panel below, it is East Alton, Illinois. But it has this shape here, although on the real thing, it's just somewhere to put more information. So warning, use marine flares only, because this is 12 gauge, so you could jam a 12 gauge cartridge in there and shoot it, and at which point it would blow up because this is very plastic. And I think from the way the graphics present on this is meant to be plastic too. This is actually very close. If you look at the shape of the hammer, although the hammer and trigger on this look like they're modeled as die-cast metal, whereas on the real thing, they are also plastic, albeit with a steel firing pin. But the shape is basically identical. So I'm intrigued to see how this is used as a weapon.
In Alan Wake 2, it works more like a grenade launcher than it does a signal flare, because, I mean, the enemies are dark base and the best weapons against them are light based.
That's quite interesting. Yeah, so rather than convert the thing into a weapon, it just is a weapon because it produces light. Makes me wonder why we haven't seen UV flare guns used against vampires, as far as I can remember. We've got a flare gun turned into a 12 gauge shotgun in Blade 2 and 3, I think.
Didn't Underworld have UV bullets?
UV weapons abound. From lamps to those stupid bullets, sorry Underworld fans, to the also stupid, but I kind of prefer them, UV grenades from Blade 2. There are loads of UV weapons. What I've never seen is just a standard old flare gun with flares that use UV. Seems a bit simpler. Maybe it's too simple. I don't know. And maybe it's because it's survival horror and it's the found object thing that it seems to fit so well. Now, the only game in this lineup that I have actually completed, Alien Isolation. Damn, that was stressful. Anyway, completely terrifying, and even though the flamethrower can't kill the alien, it is reassuring to be able to make him go away. Oh, God, I remember the working Joes getting set on fire and not caring. So the alien's like, oh, don't like that. And then the androids are kind of, yeah, never mind. Oh dear, my rubber skin's on fire. Never mind. Now, I should get out of the way. I haven't ever done a side-by-side on this versus the prop flamethrower from Alien, but they're very similar, because I remember the DLC version is almost the same. So it's kind of weird that whoever put that together, and I can't remember now, it's been some years, put it together in the same way as the guys on the Nostromo did. In fact, I don't think it's ever explained. Talk about rigging it, implying that it's being improvised in some way, but it's clearly substantially an incineration tool already. So I don't know what rigging actually means in that context, but suffice to say, it's very similar to the original movie's weapon. But yeah, there's a long debate in the fan community about because it's Ash the android who's the spoiler alert evil turncoat who suggests they try using a flamethrower / incinerator because animals are afraid of fire, aren't they? Well, is it? In the actual movie, it doesn't seem to give a monkeys about the flamethrower. So it is interesting that the Isolation devs went with, yes, they are afraid of it and they will run away, but no, it doesn't hurt it in any way. Works brilliantly for the game, but actually, if you, as they otherwise pretty much have, use Alien as your only source material, doesn't necessarily make sense to have it be as effective as it is, because we only see it used at a point where it just takes the guy anyway, so didn't scare it away, didn't harm it in any way as far as I can tell, but it's happening off camera, so I think for its iconic status in the franchise and in the first movie and its unusual design, the sort of faithful approach they've taken to that. They haven't done the usual license game thing and just totally redesign it for no reason. And the actual fire effect is great. The way it sticks and burns on the androids is awesome. I'm not sure why it wouldn't do that to the Alien. I guess its biology is so different. Although ironically, if I remember rightly, the pseudo-scientific explanation Ash gives of its biochemistry, it should actually go up like a house on fire when you torch it, but it doesn't in the movie seemingly, and it doesn't really in the game either. But what a fantastic game it is. I shall treasure my memories of having got through it. I don't think I'll ever be playing it again though. Maybe I should try it in VR. Maybe I should as a fan. Maybe just the Nostromo DLC. Spandau. Yeah, so this is it's period correct as a name, as a nickname, because Allied soldiers would find these guns marked Spandau for the Spandau arsenal where a lot of them were made, and they called them Spandaus. And that name got translated over to other German guns. A German machine gun was a Spandau by default, but it's technically incorrect, which is the best kind of incorrect. This is a really cool implementation of one. An MG08, by the way. MG0815, I should say. At least I think that's what it's trying to be. Makes sense. It's the infantry version. We do have one. You're going to make me go and get it?
I wasn't going to, but now you've said it.
All right. And other assorted old man noises. It's a bit chunky. So, buttstock, pistol grip, and a lightened stepped design to the receiver, plus the bipod on there, which you can take off. An attempt to turn a quote-unquote heavy machine gun, as we sort of later, well, the term is used at different times in different places, but a literally heavy machine gun into a light machine gun. So something you can actually move forward, operate with a team of two, run around with on your own if you absolutely have to. But it's a real kludge, it's a bodge, it's a stopgap, realistically speaking, turning the fixed MG08 into the shoulder-fired MG0815. Now this is actually Belgian-made, interestingly. So it's in 7.65 Mauser, made at MAB in Liège. So our German-made one is on display in our First World War gallery, which, appropriate to the game, you should come and see. I'm now going to put this down.
It was unintentional that we showed you two survival horror games set in World War One, where you both play as a French soldier. Conscript is actually really interesting because it's a survival horror game, but the horror element of it is literally just the horrors of World War One.
Well, I'm not going to argue with that one, and I really like the look of it. Something about the pixel art really does work well for that. I love also the tiny little cartridge cases coming out of this thing in a little pattern as he moves around. Now the rate of fire might be a little slow. I'd say it's probably within realistic bounds, especially as you could adjust the fusee spring on these things to effectively change the rate of fire. You shouldn't do. You should keep it balanced at sort of 500-ish, but it sounds a bit more like 400-ish to me. Yeah, he's definitely been eating his Weetabix. He's running around firing this thing from the shoulder. That mounted gun, is that meant to be a Hotchkiss? I'm not sure. That seems to have a more appropriate rate of fire than the Spandau. Yeah, so that's about 500, 550. Yeah, that's a Hotchkiss, 1914. Couldn't quite tell from the pixel art, but I could see from the icon what it was supposed to be. Lots of detail, considering the low resolution, as it were, deliberately so. Lots of detail on the firearms. Ah, the Shosha, or the Shosho, as the Americans called it. Fast rate of fire, but slow and cumbersome to reload. Lightweight. Not sure about that. I mean, yes, compared to the 0815, it absolutely is lightweight. It isn't awful, you know. The dual pistol grips look very strange so close together, but it does kind of work. Got anti-aircraft sights on this. It says fast rate of fire, but it's chugging along at a similar rate to the German machine gun.
I guess, is that fast in relation to bolt action rifle?
Bolt actions, yeah. Now this is about half the rate of fire of what the Maxim should be. So what, 250? Very slow, very slow. Like you can physically shoot a semi-automatic weapon. Well, some people can at that rate of fire. So very fast trigger pull level of. It's automating the process of pulling the trigger. It isn't giving you anything over and above that in terms of volume of fire, I would say. Really interesting weapon, much maligned. It's essentially the Sten gun. It's the LMG of Sten guns, made at short notice, effectively, to a price to get it into service, basically. They identified the need, and they designed and developed something, they being the French, of course, very quickly. And it was good enough, unless it jammed on you, of course, in which case you would hate it, much like a Sten gun of course, the later conflict. Looks pretty terrible. Looks like it was homemade. It's a bit more sophisticated than that. But the real problems came converting it to 30-06 for the American service, and that's where it really had like critical levels of stoppages and got this terrible reputation. I mean, it's not the most reliable thing in the world to begin with, necessarily. This is not a cutaway. This is how the magazine was designed. For reasons I shouldn't compare it to the SA80, so I won't. Now I remember this. Definitely haven't played it. I remember making comparisons to Cronenberg, Existenz in particular.
Yeah, Existenz is what I was reminded of, but it's a very H.R. Geiger inspired, fleshy hellscape of a game.
Yeah, a mixture of the two, actually. The sort of body horror of Cronenberg and the biomechanics of Giger. Pretty disgusting. I look the wet squelchy sounds as you close the chamber. Not really sure what that is. How does it work? No idea. Oh, even the sort of empty, the click empty sounds gross. Oh, I really hate the noises they make when you shoot them. Ugh. Yeah, gross.
I really dislike how the ammunition containers, like a fleshy bandolier or something, weird pincushion mushroom looking thing that you're plucking bits out of to then shoot.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? It's not even like Existenz makes more sense in that he builds it out of an actual chicken carcass and shoots teeth out of it. I don't think those are meant to be teeth. This is something much more abstract and it's like an alien organism that shoots projectiles, I guess. Or parallel dimension creature thing. Don't know. Can't help.
Once more, I want to say thank you to all of our patrons. Your support means the absolute world to us. We hope you enjoyed this spooky episode and that you have a very, very good Halloween. Until next episode, thank you for all of your support, and we will see you real soon.